Hello, hello. Welcome to Ram and Goat Astrology. I am Laura Lee.
And I am Helena.
Hi, Helena.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
So now, we're properly starting with this new schedule of ours,
We are.
recording an episode for every second week.
It feels, and this is our 101, 101st, is it? 101st episode. So it feels like we kind of did like an reset.
Slow down. Yeah. Reset.
Yeah. Slow down is for sure. I have to slow down. If I don't, I'm going to develop some health issues per my Reiki lady I saw, and also my intuitive knowledge. But yeah, I've got to do some shifting of my own energy into Taurus time, which is the opposite sign of what we're talking about today. We're going to chat a bit about Scorpio. And so it makes sense that I would be working on doing Taurus time energy and slowing down, valuing myself, valuing food and a good book and just all the Taurus themes. And that would be opposite the energy we're in right now, Scorpio season, that really helps with that transformation process. That's what Scorpio is so great at.
Yes. So you and I chatted the other day, and we talked about so what should we record next? What should be the theme of the next episode? And I mean, we're in Scorpio season now, and there is just something about Scorpio season and Pluto and everything that these two bring that I really am so fascinated about.
Yes.
Fascinated with, and I think it's really beautiful, the transformation and the ending part of something, and now we can see nature sort of dying in the northern hemisphere, and it sounds wrong, but I was like, let's talk about death. I really want to talk about death and everything around it, because death is also such a thing that I don't think that we talk about enough. It's such a big part.
Not at all.
No, we don't. It's a huge part of life. I mean, we're all going there. Everything will die one day, and it just doesn't have to be so morbid.
Right. Including cultures, civilizations, the way the earth is actually looks right now, like all of that will change. One of the things Philip and I do a lot is we watch a lot of ancient history shows, like ancient histories or Ancient Aliens on History Channel. And we're really fascinated by these cultures from like 12,000 years ago, where supposedly it was very primitive people, but there's tons of evidence where they used lasers and had massive machines or something to move giant rocks. But that whole culture, the whole civilization, all of it is dead. We don't, it's not here. It's transferred into something else. And we are all going to transfer into something else. And a lot of people are scared to talk about it.
Because I think that a huge part of that is that it sure brings change. It's the end of a cycle, it's the end of the life cycle. And even not just even this physical death, but there's also you know a part of you can die and change, because you didn't need that part anymore. Your situations change, relationships die.
Yes.
And you move on. Parts of you, like an old, you have your older self, so we're constantly, we're constantly in this circle that just keeps spinning. And a part of that circle is that the death, transformation, and rebirth. And it's a really beautiful part, because without that, there wouldn't be new life. Again, if you just look at nature, things, leaves that fall into the ground, they are starting to decompose. Worms eat them. They make these amazing nutrients for the trees, so that the leaves and flowers can bloom again next spring. Without that death and that nutrition that death brings, there wouldn't be new life and that regeneration.
Yes, exactly. And that's the beauty of it. But so many people get stuck in the trauma of it. So why do you think that is? Why do you think there's some people who move through it in a beautiful way and they work, they get to the healing, and then some people get traumatized by that particular death or transformation or loss of a relationship or whatever?
Mm. I mean, I think it's definitely hard for everyone when a person that you're close to dies or when a relationship dies. But yeah, we handle it differently. Some people, I think that people with a strong Pluto placement in their chart, or maybe they have Scorpio in their first house,
Yep.
they are more in tune with these energies. It's not as a big surprise when these energies come around in your everyday life. They know how to hold this and also with others because they're familiar with that energy. Whereas
Yes.
someone who doesn't have a strong Pluto at all and doesn't have like anything like that, it will come as a bigger shock.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone who is really trying to avoid uh, change, it will come as a huge shock. Someone who's trying to just hold on to the safety. Like, yeah, if we go across the chart, we end up in Taurus.
Yeah.
And Taurus is all about safety. Taurus does not want change.
Nope.
And Scorpio on the other side is all about like, let's, leave that behind and we'll build something new and like Phoenix rising from the ashes, like burning things to the ground
It,
to
it
rise again.
embrace it embraces the change. It's like, yeah, change
Yeah,
is everything. Where Taurus is over there going, no, stability is everything. And
exactly.
Scorpio is going, yes, I see that. And when you're done being stable, I'm going to transform shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we have an interesting time frame in our life where there was a generation of humans, you being one of them, where Pluto was in Scorpio. So we
Yeah.
got to see that time frame in our life. There's actually quite a few transits of Pluto that we will not experience, right? We will not experience Pluto moving into certain signs, but we have your generation who are now grown up adults,
Yeah.
and you are changing the narrative around all of this. Your generation is. So Pluto was in Scorpio from 1983 to 1995. It was actually one of the shortest times that Pluto spent in a
Oh,
sign. It's usually a
short
lot
and
longer.
intense, perhaps.
Yes, short and intense. It didn't need that long time in Aquarius like it's going to be for 24 years, right? This was just a mere 12 years that it was in there. So
Wow.
think about that. That's pressurized. It's intense. That's what a pressure canner is, or a pressure cooker. It's a small thing. You put a couple jars of beans or whatever in, you put the lid on, you tighten it down, and you crank the heat, and you create this intense pressure in a very small time.
Yeah.
Hey, that's your generation.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. And I I do
Hey.
think that I mean, my generation has helped. We are very intrigued with the occult.
Yes.
Um, I mean, like at least in Sweden, and I think all around the world, there's us witches are coming out of out of the woodworks, and there's so many people talking about witches embracing their witchiness, and like a witch is so scorpionic. It's all about that, the magic, using herbs for transformation,
Yes.
um talking about what's uncomfortable, setting, being powerful. A strong, powerful person is a
Mm-hmm.
very witchy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's what
yeah, I think
witches
my
were. They were strong, powerful
exactly.
women that were then
Yeah.
given this term of witch, right? But think about the
And then
intense
burnt.
changes and then burned, right? Think about the intense
Right.
changes your generation has witnessed, this 83 to 95. And most of your generation is in this decision of, whether we, get married or start a family or whatever. And a lot of them, a lot of this generation is choosing to opt out of that. They're like, this is
Yeah.
not actually a thing that's going to work. So, like, getting rid of these outdated models of functioning, and the people who are having children are experiencing something similar to what I have too, is children who have major health issues,
Hmm.
and because of lies and deceit by the powers that be. And that's a major transformational thing too, where you said herbs and natural and more in tune. energies of healing, ways of healing. And your generation seems to be the one that's really embracing energy healing, spiritual healing, opening to astrology and the powers of that. Hypnosis is taking off. Meditation is growing tremendously because your generation is like, fuck this shit. We got to figure out something else. We can't just be popping pills all the time and losing people to suicides like at the rate we are, right? We've got to transform the foundations that are outdated. And man, Scorpio is just the right Pluto and Scorpio is just the right generation to do that, isn't it?
It's actually really interesting because when you said that about kids, when I thought about it, it's like, yes, I feel like my generation, we don't make a lot of children, but the generation after us, when Pluto moved out of Scorpio, like it's the younger generations who are having the children now, or like the older ones. But the people in my generation, what are we called? Gen X.
I think
I
so.
think I'm Gen X, which is Pluto in Scorpio. We have our eyes set on something else, and a lot of people are spending a lot more time. You know, they don't want to have kids because they want to put their money going to retreats, going like working on themselves.
Yeah, the transformational stuff.
The transformation,
exploring the depths of life and the human existence, and really going within themselves. That's what I'm seeing, the major overarching trend.
True.
Now, of course, this isn't for everybody, right? And it depends on your placements. But I think that Pluto and Scorpio generation is really the one that has the power and kind of the guts or the nerve or the audacity, like a scorpion, to really make these deep, profound changes that our society needs to make. So I'm excited to see how you guys keep doing it when you get into your 40s and you get into your 50s. Like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
But that's my view of death and rebirth. I think it's fun because my planet of fun is there, Jupiter. So when we look in our chart, look and see where Scorpio is in the houses, because that'll tell you the area of life that you'll feel this energy and it'll show up for you. And then, of course, if you have planets, that's a whole other podcast, or we'll do that in Patreon. But for now, just check out your chart, check out the houses. Maybe it's partially in 6 and a little bit into 7. So that would be more daily life and, relationships. And we'll talk about that. But just kind of keep in mind where this is in your chart and where this intense energy is showing up.
Yeah, and we will go through all of that. We'll talk a little bit about Scorpio and all of the houses a little later in this episode. So,
stick with us.
Yes, you will hear about your placement.
So
yes,
death itself is, like you said, it's the thing we came to life to experience. Right? It's the thing. It's the only thing everybody will experience is the being born or the life and then the dying. So we have to recognize the transformation experience within there, but there's some boundaries in there. Let's talk about the transformational boundaries that need to occur with Scorpio. What does that mean to you when you hear those words, transformational boundaries and Scorpio?
Oh my God. Yes. So, Scorpio season, like it's about a lot of things, mostly around this time we go within and people they pull away a little bit from the outer world and we go inside and things become more intense and our focus becomes a little more towards more mystical stuff and the veil is thin around this time. But also Scorpio is all about power and control also. So also around this time, it's great to take control of your boundaries. And I feel like that's hard. Like boundaries are hard, but I guess it's meant to be hard. But Scorpio is all about that. Like wants to help us to set clear boundaries for ourselves and others. It's just I just feel just from those words I feel like they hold so much power and almost like I don't really know what to do. It's almost like I become a little student in a with a Scorpio teacher, like yes, set your boundaries. But that's an interesting angle on Scorpio, the
So
boundaries.
I have like a personal story I want to add to this because my second, I was going to say middle child, she was the former middle child. My second born child had her scorpionic birthday 3 days ago. And it felt like a really big shift for us. And she got a new solar return chart. Thank goodness. It's a better flow, it's a better fit. Everybody felt it. We all felt her Pisces rising energy lift, and we could see clearly. And we were like, oh, collective family breath, right? So that was a Friday night. Saturday was busy. Sunday, I was like, let's use this to reset, because not only did she have a birthday, but that was when I gave birth. So it's essentially a new birthing for me as well. So I'm like, yes, Scorpio energy, let's do this. So I got the computer. I opened up a form where I keep my notes and keep myself organized. And I was like, Lotto family meetings, let's do this. So we sat down, we had the kids get their breakfast. Let's all sit around, let's chat. So we dove into examining where we're at. We talked about our physical health. Went through, asked everybody on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at on your physical health? Some of them said 5, some of them said 7. I said, cool. What's 2 things you can do to move the number up the scale? And they came up with the answers. So we focused on positive transformations that they could make, right? And then we went through all that. We went through mental health, we went through emotional health, and the kids came up with their answers. It was really cute listening to the 3-year-old because she kind of listened to everybody and then chimed in and added her. She's like, I could watch TV and I could dance. And it's just really cute. So we're all listing things that would help our mental health and whatever. I then added to the end of the meeting what my needs are. And here's some of my boundaries that need to happen. We have to have a better, healthier bedtime. It's too difficult getting the toddlers to sleep while the teenagers are just keeping screens on and giggling. It's just too much. So if we all make a deal that we're going to shut this off at this time, be in bedroom by this time, we all agreed. They all nodded their heads. Cool. I felt seen and heard as the mother and the leader of this group. It was lovely. We moved on. The meeting ended. We went on with our day. So, having communicated that, I thought, stupidly, people would follow that.
Silly girl.
With transformational boundaries, you have to set them and then you have to hold them. They don't just happen. You have to actually hold them and implement them and make sure that they take place. This is the boundary. So last night I happened to be working late, had a thing for my Cosmic Mama Collective, and then I did some paperwork, and then I went in. It was like 10:30 at night when I went in. And I had 2 teens watching a show in the living room and one playing Minecraft on the computer. And I was like, what the... I got intensely upset because I had just set this boundary. I thought we would hold it. But part of Scorpio's issue is control and then this self-protection, right? So for me, protecting my own energy, if I get angry and I blow and I really let this stingy energy out, it saps me so much. Like it really steals my life force energy.
Yeah.
So I'm both feeling the feeling, seeing the chaos, and recognizing where I'm at, and that I have to have some self-protection. I have to go in my hidey hole in my bedroom and I have to just let this chaos be. I can't control them. There's too many of them. Elliot is too earthy. It's too much. And I had to have my own healthy boundaries and my own self-protection. I let them know where I stood. I was not happy. My stinger came out a little bit, and I maybe did a few jabs at them. Whatever scorpions do, right? Like when they are on the defense, I definitely did that. And then I looked at them and I was like, I'm going to bed. Good night. And I went in my room and I shut the door, and the message was clear. But that was my healthy transformational boundary and my own self-protection and controlling my own energy so as not to leak it or, get so drained by them, which is what I used to do all the time. And so now I was working on being more guarded, right? And having that more balanced energy exchange, I guess. So
Mm.
that's just one like I can think of that just happened yesterday.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Scorpio, I mean, unless you have a Scorpio moon where it can be, if someone's really close to you, they're gonna intensely feel your emotions. But otherwise, Scorpio keeps their intensity very close to them and their feelings very like close to them. That they're not very like a Leo, like very out there in that way. And I think because they keep it close to them because they can have control over it then.
Yes.
They are very like control. And I think that that's also something that we're learning from being a Scorpio season whenever we have like a strong Scorpio as planet in the sky, or we have a strong Scorpio in our chart. We're learning about self-control. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's always the balance because too much self-control is not good either,
Yes.
and you start controlling others and no good. But a little bit of like self-restraint
Mm-hmm.
and keeping some things just here and like, okay, you have a lot of emotions,
Yes.
but learning how to transform then those emotions, like you said, like you didn't want to let them out, you didn't want to expel your energy and like get drained. Instead, you kept them to yourself, and I mean, a little bit came out, but
Mm-hmm.
you kept
Yeah.
most of it to yourself, and probably went into your room and just let them transform into something else. And
I
like,
did.
yeah, Scorpio is an alchemist. Like
Mm.
it's very much that alchemy energy about transformation, and it's not easy. I saw some emails the other day that made me boil a little bit on the inside, and then I wanted to respond to them like passive aggressively or something to get my point across that,
Oh yes.
something.
Get that
But
stinger
then,
in there.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
and and then I just thought to myself, that's not a good idea.
No.
Take some breaths, wait until tomorrow. I'm sure that I'm gonna have a different look on it tomorrow. And sure enough, like I'm learning something from this. Like I felt that boil, but just sitting with it, and that's another Scorpio thing, uncomfortableness.
Oh
Uncomfortable.
yes.
It's a call, yeah, being uncomfortable and not because when you're uncomfortable, you just want to get out of that. You want to shake it
You
off.
wanna
And
you wanna fix it.
yeah, and the easiest way to do that is to maybe yell at someone, to try and throw the energy off somewhere else,
Yeah.
if you're uncomfortable. But what we should do is just breathe into it and feel uncomfortable, feel the uncomfortableness, think like, okay, what is this coming from? Could it maybe be that I'm not totally right in this situation? Or maybe I am right, but maybe the thing I want to do, which is yell and scream, is not the right thing to do for me in the long run,
Right.
or that's not going to
Mm-hmm.
give me anything. So why not just sit with this and see how I can use it? And I don't mean use it as to use people, but use that energy and use the lesson of sitting with that uncomfortable feeling. And I'm sure it will teach you something.
Yeah. It's using that energy to power something else. It's
Hmm.
almost like unplugging it from, where you really want to, which for me, my go-to was intense yelling and hollering. Like it's easy for me to do that. I have no
Yeah.
problem letting words intensely fly out of my mouth. If anybody has met me, it's not a problem. What is a challenge is to mindfully manage that and really keep the
Mm.
fire and the heat that I'm feeling at a like more of like a slow burn, right? And I
Hmm.
did let a little out, and I said last night a couple things, and then I went to bed. And what was interesting was right before this happened, I was recording a class for Cosmic Mama Collective about learning how to meditate, but just for 1 minute. 1 minute meditations. We learned 3 different styles. And I got into my bedroom and my brain's like, oh, 1 minute, ready, go. And I would do the thing that I learned for 1 minute. And I
Yeah.
ended up finding I did it for like 3 or 4 minutes, like just unintentionally. It just kept going. So I really did take that transformational experience and power it into something else, power it into managing my mind, managing my thoughts, not blaming, not shaming. Well, I told you we had this meeting. Why didn't you listen? Why? Because they're fucking teenagers. That's why. Because they're teenagers and they're supposed to do this. They're supposed to push the boundaries. That's the job of them. That's dumb that I would think they would be listening. So not throwing it, like you said, but really taking it and channeling it in a really healthy way. And yeah, that is uncomfortable. And you guys, for all of you listening, let's just take a moment. Healing is painful. Okay. It just is. And I'm not sure why humans have this mindset that healing should be better or feel good, or I don't know where it comes from, but I've seen it across the board for the last 15 years of what I've been doing. People somehow think healing is supposed to be lovely. In a healed state, it is lovely. The journey, not at all. No. Painful. Uncomfortable. Like you said, uncomfortable. You want to get away. You want to run away. You want to numb it.
Crawl out of your skin.
Crawl out of your skin. You want to numb it with things, alcohol, whatever your vice is. People tend to scroll, the doom scrolling, Netflix and chill. You notice they give you 6 seconds when a show ends. 6 seconds before they play the next show on like Netflix and stuff. That's not even time to find the controller. Where did I put the controller? Right? So our society is designed to keep you in a checked out state. And it takes work to shut all of that off. Boundaries, transformational boundaries.
Yeah.
And to do the work of going where it's painful. Deep sea divers. It's not fun to deep sea dive. It hurts. And if you don't do it at the right depth, at the right speed, you'll get all kinds of weird things in your body. I don't remember what it's called, but I know it's not good. Like, to go deep is pressurized and it hurts and it's dark and it's scary and we don't know what we're going to find. So I'll just keep watching Netflix because they just gave me 6 seconds and I'll just stay on the couch and let it keep going. And this is where growth and personal development can really take a leap forward by you working hard on those transformational boundaries. Good shit.
Yeah. And it can look in very many different ways. We're a couple of weeks into Scorpio season. I think we have about another
week,
almost 2 weeks. Have we been in it 2 weeks and we have like 2 weeks left? We have about 2 weeks left. A week and a half something when this is released. So I would like to ask that question to everyone listening, and I hope that you can take a couple of minutes to just sit with this question and maybe write something down, like, what are your boundaries right now? Can you feel something coming from your stomach? Like, what's your boundaries? Can look in so many different ways. It can be to yourself, it can be to other people. It can be a lot. And if you have boundaries for yourself and you make sure that those boundaries are kept, that is transformational. Then you will see the magic come from that. But setting those boundaries to yourself or to others is not easy, because boundaries are not supposed to be easy. If they were, it wouldn't be a thing that we talked about, I'm sure.
No. And I got to tell you, if you've got a lot of Libra placements, a lot of 7th house placements, if you've got a lot of Taurus, just Venusian ruled chart, this is going to be one of the hardest things that you go through, because you care so much about how other people feel. Pisces too.
Yeah.
I'd throw that in there too. So sensitive to other
Pisces
people.
for sure.
And that's cool. And I don't want to let people down. Yes, I know, but you're letting yourself down. Well, but what will they think? It doesn't matter, because you're not going to be thinking well if you don't do this boundary setting, right? Or whatever it is. We've got to stop worrying so much about what other people will think, what other people will say, or how they will feel. And really, obviously, we're not being mean to them, but really just take time to tend to your own damn garden. And that's uncomfortable for so many people. I know I'm the product of two people who give and give and give and have, that's a generational thing we are coming from. And we have to learn that. And so if you've got certain placements in your chart, this is going to be a little bit more challenging work.
I would say Capricorns as well, because Capricorns feel so much service. Yes, they need to fix things for others. They have it all on their shoulders. I need to be the one fixing this, and the guilt. So boundaries can be very hard for them as well. But yes, so like, yeah, it is about self-protection. But it's not just like self-protection can sometimes also have the air of being like, oh, I'm scared of something. But it's not, because if you have a boundary, you can soften, you can be relaxed. You can become more open when you have a boundary, because you set that boundary and then you feel safe.
Yes.
Yes. So that mix of sternness and softness happens when you have a boundary.
This morning, and I always recommend with Scorpio energy, there's a darkness, usually nighttime is associated with it, sleep, bed, sex, all of the things that happen typically in the dark. So if you have a scorpionic issue, such as last night, right, with my family, the story I just told, sleep on it. Sleep on it. Yeah. Give yourself the space to go in your hidey hole, disappear for the night, and try again in the morning. And this morning, we had conversations, and I talked to them in a kinder way with clear boundaries again, reestablishing them. And it's just a new energy. Would they have heard it well last night if I was upset and intense? No, they would have been more fearful. But today they had slept, I had slept, we had eaten, and we talked. And like they agreed, yeah, that was crappy. Sorry I did that. We were really going to work on it. Sorry, that was not cool. Right. So the sleep, I think, is a really big part of the boundaries as well. Go get some sleep.
It's always good to sleep on it.
Most humans are functioning on far too little sleep, really deep sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of go take a nap, go to bed.
Go to bed. Yeah.
Go to bed. Just like when people are crabby or toddlers are crabby or whatever, just go to bed. We'll try again tomorrow.
Just go to sleep. Give up. Let's go and sleep.
Yeah.
This year, to jump to a little bit of a different thing, this year is the first year that I actually set up an altar at home for Day of the Dead. My partner is Mexican, so we and I really have always loved that tradition, but never really been a part of it.
Yeah.
And
same here.
Yes. So what we did is that we brought some pictures from loved ones that have moved on. We put them on a little altar with some like foods, some drinks that these people used to like, some cigarettes for the smokers, some candy, just stuff that they really enjoyed when they were here. Yeah. And we lit lots of candles, and we just sat here one night and like watched the candles burn, and they were burning really intensely. And it was really beautiful because you could really feel that they were here. And yeah, this is the first time I celebrate Day of the Dead, but what it is that you light lots of candles, and you have these orange beautiful flowers I don't remember the name of, cempasúchil, I think. And you have them here to guide these souls back to Earth, so they can find the light, find their way back. And then when they're here, they're gonna enjoy all of these treats that you give them.
It's almost like a reunion. It feels like a family reunion.
Is. Yeah, it is, and it really felt like that. And it was really, really beautiful to feel that, to feel how thin the veil is, because it is thin around this time of the year.
It is. Yes.
Yeah, so that is definitely something I'm gonna keep doing. And
I really love that. My kids and I watch
uh,
Coco a lot, the movie Coco. Have you seen that?
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
have
we
I
love that
have,
movie.
yes.
And
Yeah.
I would love to do an altar. Uh, it's not as practical in my life at this moment with toddlers and cats and stuff, but that is something I almost like want to work that into when we convert our barn into our new house. I want to work that into just a part of the house where this is
Yeah.
just our like our memorial display of our loved ones,
Mm.
right? And just have an area where we can have that kind of all the time, and maybe with doors that close, glass doors or something, so keep kids and cats out. I'm always
Yeah.
like, come on, keep this practical. But it's something I think about, and I would love to implement. And I have quite a few Hispanic friends who do it, and I really
Mm.
I love the tradition. It feels so much better to me than Halloween, which here is just a systemic poisoning of children with horrible food dye candy. So
Mm.
it makes me mad. So I
Yeah.
don't like Halloween. I don't celebrate it. I don't. The costumes are okay. I'm not. It feels like more work than it's worth, and then the candy is bothersome to me in general. But it's not. It doesn't speak. It doesn't send a message to the children of anything of connection. Whereas Day
Mm.
of the Dead feels like that family reunion energy, and this like bringing the
Yeah.
spirits to us and setting the energetic scene, and almost like scheduling a party, and like you had
Inviting
food
all
out.
your family members.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I felt like there was some grandparents that I reconnected with from that night, and like uh, for some days after that I've thought about them a little bit, but I haven't really missed them. And now I was looking at a photo of um me and my granddad that he's been dead for nearly 20 years.
Okay.
And seeing that and really remembering like, oh, you know, we used to be together. This was, he was here, and we
Right.
had this history, and I really felt, yes, so much more connected. He wasn't just a distant memory, he was actually there. I
Yes.
felt it. And it
Yes.
was really, really beautiful. And
Mm.
um uh yeah, my grandmother, her memory is sort of going, but there was a few days after this happened, she said something like that he was here and waiting for her in the parking lot or something. So I really think that he came here and showed his presence a lot more. I don't know what you think, but I think that when someone dies, you become a soul and you go to another place,
Hmm.
um, and you will be reborn,
Hmm. Yes.
reincarnated into
This is
another body.
this is my feeling
Yes.
as well.
Yes, but at the same time, even though let's say my grandfather has moved on into a different body, we can still access, like he can still be a soul connecting with me at this altar and being here.
Yeah.
It's all sort of happening at the same time. Like I can be here, like my soul is in my body here,
Right.
but I could also be connecting with someone from a soul level
Right.
from another life.
So there's this. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on this, but Philip and I are studying this right now. We're reading books on it. We're watching all kinds of documentaries on it. But this concept of like a non-linear timeline. There's the only reason we have a linear timeline is because that's how the Earth realm essentially functions. But what I've learned is that that linear timeline doesn't exist like anywhere else. All the other stuff is all happening kind of simultaneously. And I've really read a lot of stuff that when we do sleep, our souls do go and visit and play and do other things. And I've seen it with my own eyes with my toddler, who's very 12th house energy, tons of planets there. I've seen him. He goes somewhere. He's not here. I don't know where he is, but he is not on this earth. His physical body is, but his experiences are somewhere else, which is why some people have such vivid dreams. And what you're doing it, your soul is
Mm.
doing that. So even if your granddad, let's say he is incarnated again in another body, um every time he sleeps, right, his soul could easily come and visit. So this is my take on it for sure. I think
Mm.
it's very magical and mystical, this whole timeline and like souls meeting. It's just it's
Yeah.
fascinating to me, fascinating. But
Yeah.
yes, I feel that connection with, I lost my maternal grandmother 2 years ago, and um, she had a special connection with Gertie. So it was this feminine, there we go, the feminine lineage. So her, my mom, and me, and then my oldest daughter. And she always wanted to make a thing with Gertie's birthday. So she came over. One of the last times she visited our house was for Gertie's birthday, and 3 years ago. And so I was going through my text messages just yesterday and kind of messaging people I hadn't connected with in a while. And grandma's was on there. And
Oh.
I went through, like, scrolled way, way, way back. And it was like I was talking to her again. Right. Like, oh, hey, Graham. And I was reading through the text messages and reading through the pictures I sent. And I don't know, it just felt like she was right there. Like I could see her, I could smell her. And like I get sad and my throat gets a little lump and my eyes get watery. But like, oh God, I'm just so glad to have had that interaction and that earthly experience. And I know our souls will meet again. So I don't know. Death to me is, yes, it's sad. And then, like, it's not sad anymore. I don't know. It gets to a point where I'm like, I'm so glad to have known them. I'm so glad for the experiences. And I know my time in earth is going to go very fast. It's going very fast. And I know I'm going to see them again. I know there's a connection. Obviously, if we're doing this earth realm together, we needed to, we're a soul family or whatever. So yes, I'm sad. And then I don't know, I get like really not sad and I get really glad about the time we had. So it's, I know there's some people that get really traumatized by death, but I just really get so grateful for the experience and the gift of the togetherness we did have.
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, of course, it also is different depending on how the person passes. If it's someone who lives way too soon, that's, of course, traumatizing and really hard to get through. But when someone has had a full life, like your grandma, she was, how old was she?
92. 92.
Yes, that's a lot of years. That's amazing. And then it's just like, well, this body is old and frail and just don't have enough energy anymore. And like, it's time to move on to the next step.
Yeah.
And then, yes, it is really sad still, but it's like you know that she's not really gone and you know that you're going to see her again.
Right.
Um,
And then when you pull up these
yeah.
text messages or you set up an altar and like you feel them there, you
Yeah.
feel them. It's powerful.
And I'm sure, like when you ask a question in your head and you think, what would she say? You're gonna hear her exact words, what she was gonna say. So we can still talk with these people. We can still talk to them.
Yes.
And I don't think like maybe your soul can be in many places at the same time. So it's not like if I'm reincarnating something, my soul's gonna leave my body and visit somewhere else. Like it, my soul can be in many places at the same time.
Absolutely.
And
Such a fun topic. I feel like I could go on this topic forever.
Sure. Like we can, and I think that we're going to see this more and more, how we're going to learn to connect with that and learn how to steer it a little bit, visiting in different realms from this earth body, because we have the capacity, we just don't really know how
Well,
to get there.
we haven't had the teachings in our society. Our society has so gone towards the religious construct, right? The really, really man-made, rule-oriented religion, right? But in reality, we had the teachers. We had Buddha, we had Jesus, all of the teachers that were out there. They didn't want to be worshipped as gods. That's not what they were doing. They were attempting to teach us that the spirituality is within us, and mindfulness and all of the things, right? Sit quietly under the tree and be mindful, and right, literally the meditative process was with these teachers. But then the religions took the message and skewed it. And I just went to church this weekend because Saffron had a singing thing in school, and Philip and I were really like, let's look for the the spiritual connection here. And they are in the parables. The story that they shared was putting energy out there, and it will come back to you, kind of that karmic energetic exchange. But the story was based on this widow who had just a handful of flour and a little bit of oil, and she ended up sharing it with this guy, and he said, God will reimburse you and you will have your flour and oil. Now, did she literally have an overflowing cup of flour? I don't know. That's pretty cool and magical. I'm not sure. But I think the teaching in the story was the deeper spiritual meaning of, the energetic exchange. But it gets lost in the religious box. It just does for a lot of people. And then a lot of people hold to the religious doctrine, but the actual message and teachings was underneath it, kind of got buried, right? It's like when you pile paper on top of paper and you have a big stack of stuff to go through. So I think with our society, we're now, with the internet and the advancement of all of that connectivity, and of course the age of Aquarius we're entering into, we're really expanding our awareness outside of the religious construct, and finding the spirituality within that, finding the transformation from the old ways of being, right, this religious way of being, into a more harmonious with the cosmos, with mother Earth and Mother Nature's energy and her heartbeat, and the frequency we put out does keep going out to other planets. We know that. So I think there's a big shift happening, and 24 years from now we should revisit this and have another chat about it, because Pluto going through Aquarius is going to shake that up. So I think that's what society's transformational Scorpio energy is happening right now, as we're going through that shift away from the old way of being and thinking into a newer, more harmonious energy.
And that's happening soon, you guys. On the 19th of November, Pluto is going into Aquarius and leaving Capricorn for like 240 years. Yes.
Bye, Capricorn. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
So what happens when Scorpio goes into the houses, or when the Scorpio's in the houses?
I was just gonna say.
What does that feel like?
Do we want to talk about the transits or the natal placements?
Let's go to the natal placements. I feel like that would feel more in alignment with people.
Yeah. Yes. So I know a lot of people actually with a Scorpio first house. And if you have Scorpio in the first house, also your ascendant will be Scorpio, because the ascendant starts the first house. And the ascendant is also, sorry, the first house is also very much your body. But so if you have your first house in Scorpio, or your Scorpio in your first house, you will come across as very intense, mysterious, resilient, have like a magnetic personality that draws others in, like, pretty much a magnet.
Yes.
And like there's a natural tendency towards transformation and a strong will to overcome obstacles. Like these are big themes in your life, because this is your first house, this is your ascendant. Yes. This is how people see you. Yeah. You will radiate magnetism.
I think that's a big thing to mention, that overcoming obstacles, right? That's something I feel like Scorpio people, souls who incarnate with a Scorpio rising, Scorpio first house, they came here with that energy of like, all right, what needs to be transformed? And it's just this like rebirth cycle throughout their whole life. Shout out to my sister-in-law, Kate, with her prominent Scorpio rising. And then I just did 2 readings this weekend for a new client of mine, Robin, and he has very prominent Scorpio energy. And he said that people are just drawn to me very magnetically. I was like, yeah, I know. So, and he had Mars right on his first house too. So it was like, well, that, absolutely.
Powerful.
Very powerful.
And I would also say that you might scare some people. If you're a Scorpio rising, people might be a little scared, because it's a very powerful energy. You're gonna show, because it's really how people see you. You're gonna people are really gonna sense it's gonna feel it as soon as you walk into a room, and not everyone is comfortable with that, because they might want to hide from you and hide from Because Scorpio ascendants can also like sort of see through people. They have that
Penetrating.
like, I
Very
see through your
penetrating.
bullshit. Yeah.
Yes.
And not everyone wants to be called out. So we
No, no.
there's gonna be people like, not everyone's gonna be, some people might be scared of you,
Yeah.
honestly. Like
Yeah.
feel a little bit intimidated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to just accept that. You have to accept
Hmm.
that there are people who genuinely cannot handle your energy. And
Yes.
it's not anything you're doing
It's not
wrong.
you, it's them. No, it's them. They're not ready to face what they need to face. And you're
Yes.
making them face it, and they don't want to face it.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that's
that's a
it.
great way to put it. That's a great way.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. All right. So with the second house, we're of course going to have some intensity around the foundation of our life, the things we build our house on, the how we lay the concrete and build the walls. This is going to be intense, and it's going to deal with our finances, the things that we own, the way we manage our core selves, our self values. It's really intense.
Mm.
These are people I tend to be, I find real secretive with finances. They don't share what they earn for money. They're just real personal with all of that, all of the things they own. Their home is very personal. They don't share it on social media, real private in that realm.
Mm. Mm. Yep. If you have Scorpio in your third house, your communication style might be like probing and like digging for the truth, like very interested in finding out the real truth that's lying beneath the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also very likely to dig, dig deep in conversations, and you probably have a talent for research and investigative work and
Especially people. You
psychology.
want to investigate people. Like
Yeah.
that third house is very people energy oriented,
Mm,
communication with your siblings or whatnot. This is the sibling house. So you could have been really sneaky or vindictive with your siblings, or maybe did
mm,
sneaky shit with your siblings, or like there's a lot of like intensity with people and power and a little bit of like psychology stuff involved, learning how to manipulate with the word, with the spoken
mm.
word, the written word, learning the power of words,
Yeah.
transforming people with words. Yeah.
Yeah, you might also be a person who does not have, you might not you might be a little secretive also. Like in the conversations, you're gonna ask a lot of investigative questions to others. You might not tell as much about yourself.
Yes.
Depending on all the other placements, of course, but this like Scorpio third house, a little bit secretive in the way you
Yeah.
share yourself in your conversations.
This is also a placement where people could easily just puke their secrets onto you without you even like asking for it. You just stand there at the party and someone comes over and tells you that they just, got into rehab or they just had a suicide attempt, some deep shit. There's
Yeah.
so many times where I see people with this type of placement and they're like, people just tell me stuff. Like, I don't even, I'm not asking. They just dump it on me. I was like, yeah, that's your energy. You literally create this kind of area of safety where they know you'll be fine with no matter what they tell you.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter
You're
what.
gonna be able
Doesn't
to
matter
hold
if
it.
you're a prostitute or whatever, especially the deeper the better. Like this Scorpio third house is like, oh, all right, well, tell me more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have home and family next with the fourth house.
Hmm.
Whew, private, intense energy at home, whether with the family of origin that you came from with your parents or the family that you create in your own home. This is just big depths of energy within the family. My oldest has this placement, and this is where there's big shifts around like family dynamics or secrets or revealing secrets. And he's definitely the one who is really has helped me transform into being an intensely honest person and really sharing just everything with him. He knows everything. He's kind of like my little confidential rock that I sit by and just talk to, and he holds it well, really well.
Mm.
And no matter what stuff is happening in our family or what major revelation thing comes up, and he just holds it, and he seems to
Mm.
thrive on it in a weird way. He really does. That scorpionic fourth house energy seems to really hang on to that intensity well. So if there's a big intense family, which he's part of, they actually thrive with that, with that.
Mm.
I don't know, that all of the dynamics, right? The intense dynamics of families, I feel like almost feeds that fourth house. But they really, really want to have some security. That's important.
Yeah, definitely. Scorpio in the fifth house. This is a house that is about like creations. It could be creating babies, creating art, um, creativity, creative energy. So I think that a lot of people with this placement are going to be into transformative art.
And
Um,
or transformative love affairs.
oh yes, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You could get tangled up in love affairs a little bit easier than other people.
Passion,
Because
spontaneity with
yes.
sex. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and very quite intense transformational um exchanges
Yeah.
with sex with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, because the
Um
fifth house is it's a Leo ruled house. So this is Leo ruled activities. And that's every time we think of Leo, we think of kind of a heart space, right? And
mm,
courage and boldness and kind of audacity of like, ooh, he wants to be seen, right? So if you've got Scorpio in that house of being seen, then you would want to be seen in these more private affairs. You'd want to be recognized in the bedroom, or you'd want to be recognized for this deep, intense art, but not necessarily out on the front of it. So I could see someone like
mm,
this writing like an erotic book with all of their knowledge of sex and transformation, but then like using a pen name and not showing their face.
mm,
Right. So that could easily be like a Scorpio fifth house energy where
mm,
you're
mm.
sharing this passionate love energy and this transformation energy, but still being very secretive.
Yeah. I would suggest to anyone with this placement to actually find some kind of creative outlet because it's going to be um, you're going to get a lot of energy through in creating something, whether it's
Yeah.
I don't know, just drawing or like making things out of clay or whatever it is. Shibari, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
Probably could be like shibari.
It's, it's
But
gotta
some kind
be
of creation.
it's gotta be a creation you can get lost in.
Yeah.
Like you can really go intense for hours and hours and hours and just lose yourself in the creative process. That's really
Yeah.
an important part of fifth house Scorpio. Yeah.
Mm.
And the risk taking here is quite intense as well. So these people take risks quite seriously, and they do it. They jump in and do some audacious things. I like Scorpio fifth house people.
I can see that.
I do. So what happens when it's in the sixth house? I know that one.
Hmm.
This is our daily routines and work. And this is, it's intense every single day. Like the way
Yeah.
you are of service to others is intense. It feels like a lot. It's very transformative. And the way you are of service will transform throughout your life. So I used to be a nurse's aide, and I worked at nursing homes, and I would help people with their private affairs, whether it was taking them to the restroom or, wiping them or changing their diapers or whatever it was. I did a lot of very private things of
Mm.
service with dignity, right? I really focused on that kind of secretive aspect where like we don't need to share this with everybody. This is your private thing, right? So
Mm.
sixth house energy is that Virgonian. I want to serve. I want to help with health. So these are people that could be in the health field and doing things like I just said, right? Like helping with nursing
Mm.
homes or helping with the death process, maybe hospice workers. I actually was a hospice kind of care worker for a while too, literally daily helping people transform and die. That's literally what I did. So but
Mm.
it's very very healing oriented, very kind of caretakering energy, and health is a big focus with this area. How can I help you transform your health, which is what I do now. So I did aromatherapy and nutrition coaching for 10 years. And with a little bit of like astrology under the surface, I was still keeping that secret, but I used it privately. And then finally came out of the closet as an astrologer who now does health coaching kind of more under the surface. So yeah, that fits my 6th house Scorpio really well.
Yeah, because that's your placement.
Yep. Yep. And that's where my Jupiter is and my planet of a series, how you nurture, literally take care of. So very talented with that mind body connection, which is what I've always done with aromatherapy and with nutrition and now with astrology. It's helping people make that mind body connection. So I'm rocking it. Yes.
Yeah. And this is my placement, Scorpio in the 7th house. So the 7th house is all about partnership, the one-on-one partnerships. And for people with Scorpio in the 7th house, partnerships are deeply transformative. There's also a need for loyalty and authenticity in your relationships. You will look for intense and meaningful relationships, and partnerships are going to bring like profound personal growth and also challenge you to confront yourself. So I'm going to say that relationships for you in this life, yes,
yeah,
they are.
Yes.
It can be difficult because they really, this is where you're going to grow into yourself, and you're going to be facing a lot of challenges here. But yes, and you will really want to go deep with these partners. Like, you know that this is together, that you can, together with someone, you can allow yourself to go really deep. And you will want to go on like explorative journeys with these people, either whether it's like out in the world or like, into your inner world, or like take a trip, a mushroom trip or something together to really connect to each other, crawl under the other person's skin. This is what you want to do.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I've read a lot of charts for people who have challenges with relationships, and I look at their 7th house and I'm like, okay, so the people that you've lost within relationship are people that couldn't grow as deeply with you as you needed them to. And that's the bottom line. The energetics of Scorpio in the 7th house is you've got to have somebody who can go to the depths with you. And if they can't go as deep as you need them to, it's not gonna align, right? There's got to be some planetary partnership alignment within their chart. Maybe they've got their sun in the 8th house or something, and it they can go to the depths with you. But if they can't, that relationship will fizzle because you will kind of get bored, because you want to keep going down and exploring all the crazy critters down under the ocean, and they would rather go back up to the surface and be in the sunlight. So I've read a lot with people who really struggle and go, what did I do? What's wrong with me? And I'm like, nothing. You're just passionate on a level that not everybody can attain. And that's the growth you get to experience in this life. You get to keep searching to find the right energetically aligned partner who can go deep. And they're out there. They're very much out there. So, but I just wanted to like take note. I actually just read a couple people recently, and I just, my heart goes out to them because they really were wondering, like, what did I do wrong? What am I doing wrong? Because I keep losing my partners, and I was like, they're just not the right, they're not the right depth. They can't go down with you as deep as you need, and the pressure is too much for them. So,
No, this is true. And this is not just romantic partners, it's also friendships, and can be family members,
business partnerships.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody you really spend quality time with consistently. Yeah. So when you have that in the 8th house, this is where it's comfortable. This is the comfortable energy, scorpionic energy, 8th house energy. So this is just this natural affinity for exploring all of the mysteries, the psychology, the occult, diving into all of the mysticism, the woo, the depths of life. So this is people who are going to experience these strong transformations, especially with other people's resources. This is the house of shared resources, shared money, shared time, shared housing, whatever it is. It's you're sharing it with somebody else, And then, of course, there's a depth of intimacy when you're sharing something. If you're sharing money, that's intimate. If you're sharing a body and you're merging your bodies, that's intimate, right? Maybe you guys are doing business together, whatever it is. There's this shared intimacy that usually ends up connecting with money somewhere in there too. There's always a money hook somewhere. But definitely a strong interest in all of the matters of life and death and rebirth.
Oh, yeah. And if you have Scorpio in the ninth house, this is the house of like the cowboy, the traveler, the student, the teacher. So your beliefs and philosophies, like there's an intensity to that. You're going to be looking for your truth when it comes to philosophy and beliefs, and very focused on understanding the deeper truth to this and exploring the like esoteric subjects overall. You're going to be drawn to transformative travel or like profound study that changes your worldview. This is definitely the person that, will travel to Peru and like do ayahuasca for 2 weeks,
Every time I watch like anything on Gaia TV or Ancient Aliens, or I'm listening to podcasts where it's pretty woo, my brain's like, I wonder if they have Scorpio in the ninth house, right? Or what's in the ninth? What's going on there? Especially some of these philosophers who study are these, what are they called? What are they called? It's alien astronauts or something, or we're called, it's not UFOs, or there's like a new name for it for people who study extraterrestrials. There's an actual like nice name now, or like UFOologists or something, but it's people who study like something astronaut. I can't remember, extraterrestrial astronaut or something like that. But I always think, like, what is their weirdness? Where is it in their chart that they go so deep and they throw themselves into the study of this really intensely unique subject that other people would be, scared to approach? And these guys are like, this is my passion. Is talking about the cultures from 12,000 years ago who were connected with constellation Orion, and then that was connected to the Anuki people. And like, what? It's fascinating that they have this intense urge to explore all of these really unique concepts. So I feel like it may be Scorpio in the ninth, or then if we jump to Scorpio in the 11th too, right? That might be another area, but yeah. It's
and also, I mean, it's not just like you're thinking, oh, but I didn't go to Peru and do ayahuasca. It can also show up of course, it will show up in your everyday life. It can be like if you're a yogi, if you like going to yoga, if you have Scorpio in your ninth house, you're gonna not just do yoga, you're gonna see it as what it is, like a lifestyle, and you're gonna go deep and intense into the teachings, the yogic teachings. You're just going to be, wanting to go deep with study of some sort. It could be study of yourself or like study of a subject.
And teaching other people what you've learned too, really sharing
with intensity. Yes.
So when we move to the 10th house, now we've got that midheaven at that point, and having your midheaven in Scorpio can feel, I think, a little bit uncomfortable and comfortable at the same time, where the uncomfortable is it's very seen. Like, it's very seen. It's an area of life that's quite recognized by everybody. But you can use that where most Scorpio who's are like really prominently seen, that feels a little like too glaring. Sometimes the energy is a little too like, I need some sunglasses. But you can use that purpose or contribution to society energy through ambitious means, like creating documentaries that change people's ideas of the way we're being lied to, or moving people with powerful scores or music pieces, right? You can still be seen but still like stay behind the scenes, if that makes sense. So having this intense focus on some type of career or volunteerism or philanthropy, where you give and give, and whatever you do it well, because it's Capricorn house, it's energy of Capricorn, and it's Scorpio, so it's controlled and powerful and intense. So all you Scorpio 10th house people, like, come and be my friend because I want to hang out with you. I'll be the one being seen, and then you just help feed me some of that scorpionic energy. I need that.
Yes, yes, it's so much about like a strong energy. I just remember that my very first yoga teacher, my very first astrology teacher, Maria Afonso, she always talked about Scorpio as like a battery because there's so much energy and power in Scorpio.
Yeah. I think it's
So
for
wherever Scorpio is like
the intense
yeah,
pressure almost. It's like a
yeah,
pressure cooker. It's always got something in it. It's ready to go. The pressure is so
yeah,
intense inside there. Yeah.
yeah.
I like that. But those 10th house Scorpio, they're going to be private in the way they approach that reputation or that purpose. The philanthropic stuff, if you give and give and give, you may not want your name on it though, right? You may not want to be labeled. Maybe it's just an anonymous donor. This could easily be the area of life where you anonymously donate a shit ton of money to something. And you just don't want recognition for it in that way. So
Yeah.
I love 10th house Scorpio people. Come and find me. I need you.
Mm.
So what happens when it's in the 11th?
Well, if you have Scorpio in the 11th house, you will um focus that intensity on like with one on groups of people, friendships. The 11th house is about community pretty much. So you'll be deeply, intensely involved with community. Maybe you have like a deep passion to stand up for your community, maybe like a bit revolutionary. The 11th house can be a bit revolutionary as well, so you want to stand up maybe for other people who can't get their voice heard. You're going to be wanting to do that. Maybe find groups of people who are working together to raise a voice about something difficult.
I could see like joining because of the loyalty aspect with Scorpio. There's definitely that Taurus Scorpio loyalty aspect. I can see this with like joining like a board or like a membership where you can really long-term changes, right? Really like the transformation over time, because we know that with Aquarius, we're really shooting, or the 11th house, we're really shooting for like really humanitarian efforts and leaving the community better than where we found it. And if we take this scorpionic approach, this intense approach, we want to get at it from like the inside. So becoming like a board member or one of like the policy making changing people, if that makes sense, right?
Yep. I could also see this as someone who will, you will be looking for groups to be able to change society in some way because you deeply yearn for that. So you will join these groups and then sort of leave this group because there will be a lot of transformation and a little bit of lessons around being in groups because of Scorpio's energy about transforming. So
yeah, wherever Scorpio is in these houses, like we haven't touched on it with each single house, but you have to just take this idea that these experiences of this area of life, this is where it's going to be intense because there are going to be these death and rebirth cycles where the way you were functioning and who you were with is going to go away. Like you have to just be okay with that. And then a new something will take its place.
Yeah.
It's really important. Like you get that in your head that wherever this Scorpio is in your chart, that area is where that death will happen or those rebirthing cycles will happen. So yeah, you're going to join a board, you're going to make a change, and then you're going to leave the board and go join a different board.
And that might be a painful experience. You might feel, why am I always the one having to end up leaving or things change and la la la. But yeah, you came there to make a change. And when you made that change,
you did it. High five.
You done.
You done. Yeah. So you'll have major effects on changing policy and groups when you're in that 11th house arena. And then the 12th house, we dive into the subconscious and the hidden realms. And we get into that psychological depth that merges with the spirituality of things, right? The past lives, the multiple universes, the dreams, all of that. We have a tendency to really go introspective here. So these people are powerful at going inside themselves. And then once inside themselves, they then go to other universes or other things. So really, really amazing at this like super transformation of themselves. And then that it's a very healing process because the transformation inside themselves and then within a spiritual realm and another realm is this like reworking almost of like the cellular programming of their bodies. It's quite intense. It very much feels like a rebirthing cycle, like almost physical rebirthing. And so these are people who are just drawn to exploring all of the mysteries, all of the psychological, spiritual, all of it. I just want to explore it all in a really profound way and then keep changing who they are. And that is going to change the people they're around, because when you completely alter your state of being, when you completely alter the frequency at which you resonate, which is Piscean 12th house energy, people who were once with you and you were out drinking beers every Friday night, that's not going to work anymore. Like you have transformed, and the friend group has to transform as well, because you're a different vibration completely. You physically are a different vibration. So I think 12th house is Scorpio energy is probably the coolest.
Yeah, I can also see this as
you win.
But I also can see how it can be very, I mean, quite intense, because this is about your subconscious, and you cannot really control your subconscious. And because you have that with Scorpio here in the 12th house, it's like those people who are, you have this gift of really easily seeing things that are not from this world.
Yes.
And that might scare you a lot. You might not want to see these things.
Yep.
And you might be quite afraid of it, because you don't know how to control that. And I know there's many adults who have lived with this for their whole life, and they just try and block out this within. And I don't have any advice really what to do there, but more than like get to know your chart and become friends with. I mean, everyone.
That was my advice.
Yes, everyone doesn't have to work on their medial skills, but you could work on maybe your boundaries, your energy boundaries, and that. Well, I'm not interested in this, but I'm sure you are really. But you might be scared of it, so just learning how to become friends with that. Because yes, this will be intense.
I agree. This could be, should you not understand the energy, this could feel a little freaky, keeps coming up, right? Just the freak you out. Like maybe some of your thoughts, some of the subconscious things
dreams
that come forward, your dreams would definitely be scary. And especially as a child, right? And if adults are blowing it off or not taking you seriously, this is a very psychic area of life. So if you have 12th house stuff in Scorpio and you have planets there, you have, I promise you, you have some psychic abilities on some level, whether it's hearing, seeing, feeling presence of somebody else, another realm, another dimension. It's something you are gifted with, and it is a gift. You just have to understand it, right? But it can feel scary if you do not know what you're dealing with. So yeah, learn your chart. Wonderful advice. I think it's so important to just keep learning. Scorpio wants to go to the depths. It wants to understand the psychology of things. And 12th house is not tangible. So that's quite the depth to explore when you want to go to the depths of something that's not tangible. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a person who came to Earth to experience the mysteries of that spirituality in a just profound experiences here. So it's an intense sign. I do like it. My Jupiter's there. I'm like, yeah, I like intensity. And then I'm like, sometimes I step out of myself and I'm like, what? Come on, Laura, come on. Let's not get obnoxious, Jupiter. Let's take it down. But it's an intense sign. And we came to Earth School to experience all of the depths of emotion. and the human existence. And Scorpio is probably the most intense and the deepest we can go.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, now we're knee deep within Scorpio season this year. We still have some time left here. So yeah, check your boundaries. Where are you at with your boundaries? With your self-control, it's quite powerful to like take back your control. You know? Very powerful. Yeah. So maybe just like explore those themes while we're here. Scorpio season. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening today. We sure appreciate you as we are adjusting our podcast and going to be putting out shows every other week. And thank you for that. We will be growing Patreon. We're working on that all in the background. So head on over to Patreon and join us there for like $8 a month. So super, super affordable. And you get to explore astrology in an educational way. We're going to kind of do it step by step and build the foundation of astrology understanding. So many people can read their chart and or know what they are, but then they don't know what that means. So our job is to help you understand what that means in a daily world. So check us out on Patreon. And of course, you can buy us a tea or a coffee to share, show us financial support there. And then, yeah, we love you. And thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate it.
Yes. See you in 2 weeks for the December transit forecast. Transit forecast. Yes, transit forecast.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Ram and Goat Astrology. You can support the show by buying us a coffee or a tea. Link in the show notes. Your financial support means the world to us. Join us next time.